Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're the hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every day, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can view all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues that affect you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Being 5:30, we'll call to order this meeting of the Board of Public Works for August 26, 2024, held in the Francis Huntley Cooper Council Chambers. Attending tonight, Alder Jetzer, myself, and Dave Wilborn. I think this is all. The other two alders are off with excuse. I did not expect them here tonight. Next, we have public appearances for non-agenda items. We have Mr. David Haith, 5855 Woods Edge Road, that would like to speak.
So this is, take a glance at this sometime.
Thank you, David. Didn't tell me I needed my glasses tonight, though.
So you don't need to read it now, but
Okay.
so the first is, I've spoken about NR 103.
Yep.
And that's, I've kind of highlighted the areas that are most relevant. And this is just 2 pages from the city's MS4 permit, and you'll see the requirement in the MS4 permit that the discharges from the MS4 permit comply with the NR 103.
Thank you.
And then the last I've got a little quick bit of information here about the sub-zero wetland, because I don't think people really have an understanding of its status.
Thank you.
So, the land is added to the urban services area. Since about 2006, I think, the Regional Planning Commission has been requiring that all previously farmed wetlands be restored. Now, the orange tag is, the first page is an environmental impact statement that came with the grant. I think it was on the order of, I don't know, you might know better than I do, how much money the governor came up with for the Sub-Zero Parkway, et cetera, out there. But it was it was at least $1 million, if not more. And so the first 3 pages are from the EIS that the state has to do in order to be able to give cities money for economic development grants. And the significance of that is that in here, on the second page, in the box, it says, specifically of concern were impacts to scarce urban wetlands and natural resource systems. And they didn't allow the road to go straight through the wetland specifically for that. And so if you go to the 4th page, and it'll have at the top March 30, 2016 is from the DNR. And so what it's saying is that the Sub-Zero, the corporation, applied for and was granted a wetland restoration permit. So it is a restored wetland, which gives it full wetland protection status under Wisconsin's laws. And then the page after that's a narrative. You can read that on your own. And then kind of the last 2 pages are the letter from the agent of Sub-Zero to the city of Fitchburg, which was signed by Corey Horton. And it basically says, well, so here's the problem. This county says we have to store 2 back-to-back 100-year floods. And when we built the road, that took away the overflow. Now, the way that things work out there, and it's a little bit muddy because there's a lot of different, it's between 2 glacial moraines, and there's a lot of layering in the sediments. So exactly how the drainage works and the amount of water that can be infiltrated is a bit unknown. But basically what the last 2 pages say is, hey, we built the road and we took away the overflow area where that water would tend to infiltrate into the ground. And since we've taken away that area, now we have to restore that because that's a county requirement. So we're basically going to call it a wetland restoration, and we're going to scrape and create a bathtub. And I didn't actually get a chance to include the LiDAR image. It's really enlightening. So the big takeaway, though, is it's a wetland. It's a restored wetland. It's got full protection under Wisconsin's law. And if you quickly go to the green tag paper, so that's the MS4 permit for the city. And on the second page, 1.9, says co-permittees MS4 discharge shall comply with all applicable wetland water quality standard provisions in NR 103. So the purpose in the restoration was to restore the original hydrology of the wetland. And it really wasn't altered very much because all the wetlands up top there are just very shallow wetlands. And what happens is that the rain would accumulate in them. It would spread out. They have kind of a relatively small core of the wetland hydric soils, the soils where there is no oxygen. But when it spreads out, it would infiltrate into the ground. And so the farmer there didn't really tile it because there's nowhere to tile it. It's the low spot, essentially up on the plateau. So the soils, et cetera, were all in pretty good shape. But what's happened over time is that, obviously, when you drain lots of hundreds of acres, 200 plus acres, into a closed depression without any infiltration, that's not the natural hydrology anymore. And so not only is there, like on the order of next year, I think it's $1.4 million in the budget, but it's also the fact that it's a wetland, and it's the report that was done 2021, I think. The city paid about $40,000 to have the hydrology analyzed. Basically says, and the DNR agrees, that it's not a wetland anymore. It's a pond. So you've got an ongoing violation of this guy, which is your MS4 permit, and now there's more development that's going to be going on around there, and with the theory that you're going to put more stormwater in there. And it's not a stormwater pond, it's a wetland. The whole purpose, the whole reason for the restoration and how it worked was, again, this very shallow wetland. And what happened is that when the North Stoner Prairie was originally approved, there was, as far out as the wetland would flood sideways to a 100-year rainfall event, was all environmental corridor, because they knew at that time that that's what would happen, and you have to essentially set that aside, and that area around the inner, so the center, the hydric soils don't infiltrate any water. So in order for the water to infiltrate, it has to move out of that central area, out into the areas that are sandy, and then it goes down. And so what happened is Sub-Zero petitioned the city petitioned the Regional Planning Commission to basically chop off most of, or all of, the environmental corridor that's outside the bounds of what's now a big pond. And so what that did was it kind of gave Sub-Zero license to build a pond, and now develop on what used to be the environmental corridor. Right? So what's happened is essentially an environmental disaster and a financial disaster, because what was not kept in mind was the fact that it's a wetland. Okay? So what's the ramifications? Well, it's a lot longer discussion than we can have here, but I want everyone to understand that this is Clean Water Act, and Clean Water Act says that if there's violations, they must be reported. Now, what's funny about this is that the DNR was in the middle of all the approvals, which they shouldn't have. So it kind of gets, because of that, it gets split into two time frames. The construction, which I frankly have no idea about whether there's any ability to challenge that or not, and I have no desire to even refer to that. And the operation. So, and that's the significance of the MS4 permit. The MS4 permit says the discharges from the MS4 cannot cause the hydrology, the ecology, any of the things of the wetland to move outside of their natural range of variation. And because there was a wetland restoration permit pulled, and the purpose of the restoration permit is specifically stated in the permit as to restore the original hydrology, you put it all together and you've got an ongoing violation because NR 103 is not met. Its natural hydrology is far outside the range of its range of natural variation. So just be aware that this is an issue, and it's going to become a larger issue because of the TID, which included everything but the wetland, because the TID is not allowed to be in the, a TID is not allowed to apply to a wetland because they don't want you to develop wetlands. Anyway, so now you have a better idea of what the situation there is.
David, you have a better history or better memory on this. That entire area was farmed. In some years, like if you were right near Lacey Road and Seminole, that some years there was water there,
right?
And then other years dry. The corn grew like crazy there. But the whole thing was farmed, and it never. When we've done, we've checked infiltration, and there's a clay layer under the entire thing that water doesn't get down to another level. The only thing that ever made the water go away was, I think, evaporation.
Well,
over
if you get
time.
Out far enough. So basically, the overflow plain went all the way to the intersection of Seminole and Lacey, for example, in that direction, and it went all the way to the path. So if you get away from the inner core more to the edges, there is some infiltration, but the test wells that were done as part of North Stoneham Prairie planning didn't quite get out that far. But I have to say, the city, in combination with the volunteers, I think it was Tom Thorson, who was a DNR warden, tremendous investigation of the hydrology up there before all this happened during the planning. Test wells all over the place. We should have known better. That's.
Well, all I can say, I followed. We drilled the wells, and we're like in the city. When we looked at them, this board, Dave and I, Bill wasn't on the board yet at that time, but it was reported back to me that it won't. That layer of clay down there, it's not going to infiltrate down there. It'd be nice if it would, or we punch through and let it go through there. Be advantageous, but that's how the land was. And if you get over near the railroad, I don't know if that's, that was probably, I don't know how much that was disturbed, when the railroad was built, where the bike trail is.
Yeah, because so you've got the Milton Moraine, which is kind of where the church is, and then you go outside farther out, and then there's the terminal moraine. And so the glacier went back and forth a few times, and the meltwater took the silt and laid it down over the wetland area that we're talking about. So it's really multi-layered. It's hard to say. Yeah. But, the one thing that I will point out is that this is a reason why you as the board of the stormwater utility have to be active because what caused these problems were political decisions. The mayor went to the Sub-Zero came to the mayor. The mayor went to the Regional Planning Commission. The Regional Planning Commission said, do you really, really, really want to? They asked like 3 different times in writing. You really want us to take this environmental corridor where you can store the water and potentially have some infiltration? You really want us to take that away and chop that all off? And the council voted yes. It was like 2016, I think.
My sense, I've had this discussion with you, that I'm around those ponds fairly often, and a lot of times, a kind of the canary in the coal mine is the amount of, reptiles and amphibians, and I've never seen so many frogs. If you go around any of those ponds, I had a discussion with you too. I think the water quality there is impaired by all the goose feces that is around there all the time. And if we could leave the grass longer or get a dog, get rid of the goose. But just a layman's. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We'll have.
Okay, so all right. Obviously this will be a continuing saga.
But don't you think, David? I can't get into debate with you because I'm not as knowledgeable. But it seems to me like we're able to store a hell of a lot more water there now than we did pre-development.
Well,
if I look at
it's a question of the law. The law says it's a wetland. And it was when North Stoner Prairie, and so, a quick aside, North Stoner Prairie, I live in Seminole Forest. When North Stoner Prairie was built, everything was supposed to be infiltrated on site.
Yep.
Okay? And what happened is that as the developer started to develop, the developers decided they didn't want to, in the residential portion, which is the east of Seminole Highway, that was supposed to be all infiltrated. Well, only a bit of it is, and now it's going down. First, it destroyed the park and the wetlands
Understood.
behind
Yeah.
my house.
Yeah. You've
Right?
gone
And
over
so that's
that
what
with
got
me.
me started.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to stop on this until I have satisfied my promise to my neighbors that Seminole Glen Environmental Corridor will be restored. So that's kind of how I got started. So as part of North Stoner Prairie, but that was all those things were laid out. Infiltration was supposed to be put in place, and there were supposed to be essentially infiltration areas in each part of each development. If you go back and look at the neighborhood plan, because they knew, right?
Yep.
Everybody said, there's no way you're going to put all that water in there. It's every property has to infiltrate on site, and virtually none of them do. And so there's an issue of the implementation of what the plan is, and the political process doesn't care, so it doesn't check. So who's left to check? I know the Planning Commission has no idea, right? It's you guys.
Thank you for bringing this to attention. I would just add, my priority first is the Seminole Glen, to restore that, get that straightened out. I would tell you that's my higher priority ahead of this, to be honest with you right now.
So I have one other thing. It's a lot less time consuming. So we just got apparently 2 large bids in, and we had this discussion maybe 3 years ago when Bill Balke first came, and I forget which contract it was, but it was, here it is. We have this value-based purchasing, and didn't show what the matrix was. And Mr. Wilborn said, we don't get to see this? We don't, where is this? How can we do this? So what I've discovered is that I was poking around, and it's been on my radar for a while, is that this value-based purchasing, in order for it to be lawful and fair, needs to be very tightly constrained. And I found an opinion from the Madison City Attorney was written in 2011 talking about what's permissible and what's not permissible. And I think it would behoove the board, or Tim can do this, any city officer, so you're a city officer if you're job or position is defined in either statute or ordinances. So as alders are city officers, and then any appointed official is also a city officer, you can ask the city attorney for a written opinion as to your process for value-based purchasing. And that, I think, is especially if, I don't know the amount that you're talking about in terms of these contracts, but it certainly would be good to get a written opinion as to the legality of the process that you're using. Because the one from the City of Madison basically says, you get to, up front, decide whether they're reliable or not, and anything beyond that, that's problematic. And I'll forward that in email to you guys so you know. So, just,
Thank you, Dave.
something that you may not otherwise think about.
Appreciate
So thanks for taking your time. I appreciate it always.
Thanks for coming in. All right, hang on one sec here. I lost my, got to get back to my, my screen here. All right. So next on our agenda is 3 Alpha, approval of the August 5th, 2024 meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
I'll move approval.
Moved by Alder Jetser. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Dave Wilborn. Any discussion, changes, updates? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor of approval of the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye. Dave, point of order.
Yes.
If there's only 3 of us, do we need a second?
We do not.
Okay.
We do not. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Minutes are approved. Next, 4, report from the Director of Public Works, Mr. Tim Volker, PE.
Thank you. I'll start off with some staff news. Ross Kaler, our senior project engineer in transportation, successfully passed his PE exam and has registered with the state, so he's officially a registered professional engineer in the state of Wisconsin.
Please tell him congratulations.
Will do. So Ross will be our 4th PE, so it's Tracy, Ben, myself, and now Ross. Next, I have a project update that is related to Dane County with County Highway MM road closure from County Highway B north to Murphy Road. The work started last week on August 19th to replace a culvert, and they're anticipated completing that culvert replacement next week, Friday, September 6th. Once the culvert's replaced, MM is proposed to be resurfaced from East Clayton Road to Highway 14 this year. And during the replacement, the resurfacing, vehicles are encouraged to use other routes. However, MM will remain open during the resurfacing, but Highway 14 will be the marked detour for this project. And the resurfacing work is anticipated to be complete in late October. And now for some project updates related to the City Sain Road reconstruction project. Phase 3 bid opening was on August 13th, 2024. The apparent low bidder for Phase 3 is Rock Road Construction at a bid price of $2,563,590, which was approximately 18% under the engineer's estimate. So the contract award will be forthcoming at one of the upcoming Board of Public Works meeting and Council and Finance. And then Phase 2 for Sain Road reconstruction, bids were opened last week, August 21st, 2024, and the apparent low bidder is Parisi Construction, same contractor who completed our Lacey Road project, and their bid for Phase 2 was $3,222,005. That's approximately 13% under the engineer's estimate. Next up, we have our 2024 street resurfacing. With that project, the contractor is working on punch list items, and then they're looking to start the additional bike paths in Wildwood South. Mickelson Parkway and Quarry Hill Drive. They're looking to start that additional work either the first or second week of September, along with the 2 additional basketball courts, one of them in Hillside Heights, the other in Seminole Glen. And then our 2024 street maintenance project, that's our crack filling and chip seal. All the milling and chip seal is complete, and the contractor is approximately 60% complete with the crack seal. And then our 2024 sidewalk replacement project, we advertised that project on Thursday, August 15th. And bid opening is this week, Wednesday, August 28th. And then our Fitch-Rona Road Goose Lake Stormwater Project, the consultant is still updating the existing stormwater model. In the month of September, we'll look to do a wetland delineation for that project. And then also install some transducers out there to kind of monitor the water level, so we can calibrate the stormwater model to what's actually being seen in the field. And then lastly, our Greenway Cross Storm Sewer Project, the contractor is continuing to work on some punch list items. With that, does anyone have any questions?
Do you want to ask him about the Greenway?
I have one for you. It's actually a check to Badgerland Excavating for the Greenway Cross and Eggman Road interceptors of $108,725. Is that the end of the billing for it, or is that just part of it?
That's just part of it. We still have the retainage to pay out, and then kind of the work left to be complete for the punch list items.
Okay, so what's a rough estimate of that going to be?
On what's left?
Yes.
I can pull that up. And it's not coming up. I can either email you or...
You guys tell me at the
Sure.
next meeting. It's fine.
Will do.
Yeah.
Bill, did you have anything for Tim?
Yeah. When we do chip sealing on the road, last week at the Meet Your Alders session, one of the people said, hey, when I drive over that chip sealed road, before everything's been compacted down to its finished state, is that ruining my tires, or is that kicking up gravel and chipping paint on my car? Do we know? Are there any studies that show, how much damage, if any, is being done to cars as they finish the job on the chip sealed roads?
As far as damage to the cars, I do not have any data on that. There are, as far as, and Zach just forwarded me a link as far as tires with the chip seal. Let me just pull that up. Actually, it was chip seal in relation to bicycling is what his article was about. So it wasn't cars or damage to that. So we don't have any specific data related to that. But I mean, chip seal is used throughout other municipalities and counties, and it's a typical pavement maintenance.
I remember this for as long as I've been alive, and this person who asked the question said it was the first time she had ever come across it, but she was older than me, so I'm not sure what was going on there. But I'd never really thought about it much.
And that there are other pavement maintenance techniques. In Florida, we used a microsurfacing. Up here in Wisconsin, I'm not sure how much that's utilized. It is a bit more messy that with the asphalt emulsion, and the road is shut down a longer period of time where people can't get out their driveways. So there are benefits to disadvantages and advantages to each surface treatment. The chip seal, one of it is the loose chips at the beginning of it, but once they become compacted, it's a pretty effective pavement maintenance technique.
And we need the people to drive on it.
Right.
And that's the thing. Some people were purposely avoiding those roads and taking alternate routes.
Well, the main thing is slow your car down, because that keeps the chips from flying up in there hard too.
Exactly. As long as the chips are loose, go slower. Once those are compacted, you can go, faster.
I think my sense, Bill, this is just a gut feel. It's not as damaging as driving on a gravel road.
Right.
Did you have anything else, Bill? I'm sorry.
No, that's it.
I just had one kind of a comment. I don't know what feedback you got, but I thought Thunder Road was doing a good job on the ceiling. I watched them on my neighborhood. They were doing a thorough job filling the cracks. They had enough people for flagmen, and if someone had their car, when they were sealing along the edge with the curb, if there was a car, they were pretty proactive, knocking on the door, trying to get the person to move their car. So I thought they were doing a good job, at least on my King James Way.
Yeah, the feedback we've received from residents, they've done a good job, and our inspectors noticed that too out in the field.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate the report. All right, we'll move on to our review items here. First one, 5A, review of utility P-card and check purchases. Board members have any questions? I'll go last here. Dave, did you have
I already asked you.
Bill, did you have any?
Yeah, I had a couple. Okay. Page 1 of 7, Interstate Power Systems, it says, generator yearly maintenance or whatever. What generators are we talking about there?
On what page? 1 of 7?
Yes.
I believe those are the backup generators at the pump house there too.
At the wells?
At the wells, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll let Tim
And we do
speak
have
to
a
that.
generator at the lift station too.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But those are the generators
Correct.
that we're talking about. Okay. I noticed the Hawkins water chemicals charge on page 2 was $2,800, and that's like twice the usual amount. Is there a reason for that?
Page 2. Do you have the date with that?
Oh, I'm sure I do.
Was that 6/28?
I've got to pull up the agenda packet here. Must have closed my window.
And it could have just been 2 invoices at one time.
Okay.
But I can look into that. The June 28th, 2024 amount was $2,839. That one?
Yeah.
I can.
That seemed like it was about twice as much as usual.
I can look into that in more detail and.
I have one more.
Go ahead, Tim.
I'm just out of curiosity, Tim. I see there's $1,699.90 for dog waste bags. How many bags do we get for that price?
How many?
It's a 1-year
And how many
supply.
parks they got?
It's a 1-year supply. I know.
It's a 1-year supply. It lasts for a year, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
So Joran buys them for all the parks citywide at one time for the entire year. I can check with him to see how many bags that
I'm just curious
is.
as to how well it holds up, if people aren't grabbing a pile and taking them home with them.
Hard to stop them. I have one on page 1 of 7 from 613. Amazon Baka Yumazov chair. Is that a brand or is it something special?
Baja's our engineering technician in stormwater,
okay.
so HR
All
did a
right.
study for.
I'm sorry for asking. Good enough. I didn't know if that was the model.
No.
And then just for people listening, there was one for Interstate on page 2, 6/27/2024. Was for Interstate batteries, for new batteries in well 5, and I'm guessing those are for batteries to start the generator, or is it the SCADA backup? I'm guessing those are larger batteries for starting our generator.
June 27th.
June 27th.
Yeah, it says new batteries for well 5.
$1,954. Interstate.
Yes, correct. That would be for the generators.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
One question, the check number 127314, which is on page 5 of 7. That's for a truck. I think that, is that Napleton Chevrolet 3/4 ton Chevy truck. Is that the truck we approved last June, or is this something newer than that?
That's the June truck.
Any other ones? I had one more if no one had anything. It's on page 2 of the check register, the very first one, from 7/24, check number 127245, United States Geological, City of Fitchburg share. It was $15,000. Is that a GPS? Is that a satellite that they're photographing the entire county as part of something, and then that's our share based on our city size? Or is that the United States Geological? Is that from that sampling state, the water sampling
That's
station?
the water sampling station split between the town of Dunn and the city of Fitchburg.
Good. Thank you, Tim. Thank you. Any other things?
Well, just that same check, one line above it on the previous page, includes the town of Dunn share.
I'm
so
sorry.
did we pay the whole bill and then town of Dunn's going to reimburse us?
Correct.
Okay.
We'll get that out of them one way or the other. Okay, very good. Thank you, Tim. All right. Next to agenda item 6A, Resolution R-15024, approving purchase of 3/4 ton utility truck. Do we have a motion to approve?
I so move we approve resolution R-150-24.
Moved by Dave Wilborn. We're purchasing a 2023 Dodge 3/4 ton Dodge 2500 truck along with the body, and it looks like we have a pretty good savings over the state bid. Now, is it just last year's model that they didn't sell?
Correct. It's a 2023 Dodge Ram. We have been going with the Chevy Silverado, but $20,000 savings is pretty hard to pass up. And the 2023 has all the options that we need to do the job. So no reason to bypass the $20,000 savings to get a newer model.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. My company, all our field techs drive the Rams, and they like them. We've had good durability and not a lot of things going wrong. No. Bill or Dave, questions on this?
No.
Yeah. So this one, the price includes the service body?
Correct. So
Okay.
The utility box is already installed on this. We don't have to purchase it separately and have it installed. So that's kind of where a significant amount of that savings comes from.
Did we inspect this? Or it's not usual that you would have the box on it, is it?
No, we have not inspected it. The vehicle's located in Michigan,
Yeah, I saw that.
but it is brand new on the lot.
Okay.
Comes with the warranty.
Very good. All for saving $20,000.
Good deal.
Yes.
And
Good deal.
what kind of mileage does the city put on these trucks every year?
So the one that is replacing the 2008 has 120,000 miles on it. So over 16 years, approximately that'd be about 10,000 miles a year.
I'm wondering, is there an electric equivalent for something like this?
Not in the 3/4 ton. So the electric isn't an option yet on that big of a truck. And that because of the utility box, we need something larger.
Right.
You tow with this too. You can hook things up to pull trailers and.
Yeah, I believe they do. Predominantly, it'll be for tools, bringing it to, water main breaks, service repairs.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. Anything else? Okay. Call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R 15024, approving purchase of 3/4 ton utility truck, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next announcements, our next Board of Public Works will be Monday, September 9th, moved out a week because of Labor Day. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move we adjourn.
All in favor of adjournment, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? We are adjourned.